Welcome back to the Stick 'em Up podcast. Brundi, we are 1 day away from the NHL entry draft. I know you're very excited for it. I am as well. It's gonna be a really good, interesting draft. It really sounds like we're building up to a lot of not just trades, but also movement of the draft picks throughout the upcoming draft. So it's going to be really exciting to see where things move. We've already seen a couple of different pieces move around, so we'll get to some of those trades. We got some signings. We got CBA news finally dropped, and then we're going to be talking about some free agents as well with a bit of stuff at the end. So, are we just kicking it off with the big one, the big trade that went down?
Yeah, before we quickly dive into big trade, I've talked about it before, but the mock draft that I did is up. It's on both the TikTok and the Instagram if you want to view it. It was, first of all, it's very difficult to make because I personally believe that multiple of these draft picks that teams own in the first round will be traded, and they won't even end up using that pick. So it was kind of weird. It was kind of difficult to do it, and I'm like, I mean, if they have their pick here, this is who they're going to take, but I don't believe that. I don't think Montreal is going to have both there first. I think Philadelphia definitely could move one of theirs. I think Nashville could move one of theirs. I think one of the picks in the top 10 is going to get moved. So it's a little difficult to do, but that's up there for your viewing pleasure if you want to go take a look at that. And some news about the draft came out after I finished making them that might happen and make my second overall pick look wrong. So we'll get to that at one point, but yeah, let's dive right into the trades we got here.
Yeah, so
kick us off with the big one.
Yeah, so these are actually two decent, sizable trades. One of them is a little more blockbuster at the moment than the other, but the first one we got here is the Buffalo Sabres did in fact trade JJ Peterka. They traded him to Utah in exchange for Michael Kesselring and Josh Doan, and that's it. Not a like you like getting that return, but for a guy like JJ Peterka, that's pretty rough, especially since they, said beforehand, we're not going to be trading him unless we get a really good deal, a deal we can't refuse. This is absolutely a deal you could have refused for a guy like Peterka.
It is most definitely. The one thing I will say is don't hate, but I dislike the premise of the rumored deals that were offered Utah or to Buffalo, like the Marco Rossi deal and whatnot. The biggest thing Buffalo needed was a right-handed defenseman. Marco Rossi would have been great, but you're not really benefiting from that too much. Again, I think Marco Rossi is a good player. I'm higher on JJ Peterka, and you would have had to give Marco Rossi basically the same deal that Peterka got with Utah, or that you would have had to give Peterka if he's willing to sign you. So yeah, you were kind of downgrading there. So I don't hate the move to fill what you need, right? And I'm really high on Michael Kesselring, big defenseman. He's put up solid numbers on a pretty mid Utah team, and if all goes right, it's a long-term fit for an Owen Power. I mean, if Kesselring keeps projecting the right way, I mean, if he gets to that top pair, then fantastic to put with Dahlin. But the biggest thing Buffalo needed was a right-handed guy to put with Owen Power. It fits the timeline. Both really big bodies, like Kesselring's, what's he? He's 6'5", 2 something, and he's the smaller of that pair. Like you can have a second pair of just two big-bodied two-way defensemen, which I don't hate. Is it the value of JJ Peterka right now? Probably not. But long-term for Buffalo, it definitely could be, because that's ultimately what they needed. You don't need to add to what's kind of already a crowded forward core, especially with a lot of prospects coming up, and probably going to add another one tomorrow. So bringing a defenseman, right side, you need it. I don't know about Josh Doan. I
think he's going to be good.
Because what is he now, 23?
22, 23, something like that.
23. And
it just...
you never know. Could work.
Yeah. I don't necessarily hate what they got back. I hate that that's it. I feel like everybody who had this deal read out to them is like in exchange for Michael Kesselring, Josh Doan, and you're waiting for them to say a second round pick, a late first something, and were they going to get a return of those two players and what do they have, the fifth overall pick? Like they weren't.
Four.
That wasn't going to happen. But
what I thought,
maybe getting their second this year. They've got 3 seconds next year. Maybe get one of those. Like,
so kind of what I thought the way that the deal was going to shape out. Obviously, it didn't. But kind of what I thought is the first player I saw was Kesselring. I was like, that's what Buffalo needs. Is probably what they want. So I was like, all right, Kesselring. I thought it was going to straight up just be Peterka and the 9th overall pick for Kesselring and the 4th. Buffalo gets the defense they want, and they move up into that top 4, and they get their pick of a great player there. That's kind of how I thought the deal was going to shake out. And that would be
I would like
great
this
trade
more.
for both teams.
I would like that more.
I would have liked, I would have liked that one more. Obviously, it really comes down to what does Josh Stone become for them. I saw a lot of people being like, "Man, I can't believe they moved on from him. Like the legacy, he has no legacy with the team. It's Utah now. All that Arizona stuff, all that Phoenix Coyote stuff, that's all gone. His dad, Shane Doan,
played
has
in Utah.
No ties to that. Has no ties to that organization anymore. Doesn't hold any records. Never played a game for that franchise because, again, they're a completely new franchise. So
different city, different state, different logo.
There wasn't that loyalty anymore. Like that loyalty was gone the moment they moved. So you could afford to move on from a guy like him.
Yeah.
I'm definitely leaning towards a win for Utah though, but I don't hate it as much as most people for Buffalo.
It's one of those cases where I think it's just a lot of lost value for Buffalo. I don't think it's bad what they got. It just, for what they gave up, they could have gotten more. And whether that's just extra picks, whether that's a couple of C or B tier prospects thrown in that see if one of them sticks, they didn't need to move Peterka bad enough to make this deal as it stood.
But it didn't sound like he was willing to sign in Buffalo. And honestly, at that point, like you could have just went to free agency. And someone qualified him, you would have gotten more picks. But I guess if you're Buffalo, you don't want more picks, right? You kind of want to win now. Like your goal isn't, all right, now we're going to do another retool in 2 to 3 years. We're good. Like they need to win now. And this is a move that maybe hurts them up front. But again, you've got so many forwards still. You got so many young guys coming up. It helps out your defense, which they desperately needed on the right side. And
really
Kessering's a guy
I believe they were like top 10 in goal scoring last year.
Time at him.
Like scoring.
Yeah, we talked about it. Yeah, we played that game. I kind of fucked it up a bit, but it was basically the whole thing was how good Buffalo is at scoring goals. So it's just keeping the puck out of your own net, and Kesselring will definitely do that for them. So still a win for Utah, but long term, there's a chance we could be talking about it's a win for Buffalo, because when the Matthew Tkachuk to Florida trade happened, I know both of us and a lot of people around the world were saying, what a win for Calgary. What a steal. It's not an awful trade for Calgary, but looking at it now, full picture, Calgary will finally use the first round pick they got in that deal, 32nd overall this year. Before they even used that first round pick they got,
trade tree continues.
Florida's got 2 Stanley Cups. So
Tkachuk's been to 3 finals.
Yeah, it just goes to show that. And sorry that
I will always defend that. I will defend that trade, man. I don't.
Well, exactly.
I don't care if Tkachuk wins 5 more. Like, given the info we had at the time, you traded a guy who wanted out for a first, your best defenseman over the last 3 years, and a guy who just put up 150 points. He was the franchise leader in points there. Like, what? Why wouldn't you? Right? Like,
well, exactly. Right. Like now it's kind of like maybe a bit of a rough trade for Calgary, but at the time it was a home run for them. Like you would take that deal 100 out of 100 times back then based on what we knew at that time.
Hell, looking back on it, what Tkachuk still wanted out. They weren't going to be able to keep him. Like, I don't think they're getting a better trade. I think even if I was a time traveler and the GM and I go back, I think I still just make the same trade. I just try and make a better extension with Huberto. Like,
I would almost
because you're
say
not
if I was
getting
a
a
time
better
traveler,
trade for him.
I would just make it. There's no conditions. Just send Florida's first and keep your own. Like that's what I would do. It
Yeah.
would just be
Yeah.
then you're at least picking 16th overall and not 32nd this year.
Yeah. Don't pay a
So
first to get rid of Sean Monahan. I'd probably clean that up while I'm back there. But
yeah,
you know,
honestly,
there's
probably
a
just
lot of
hold
stuff you
on
could
to him,
clean up.
knowing how he bounces back.
Yeah,
Just hold on to him
and trade him for a first.
But we can. Well, Montreal did. You know, if you're like, whoa, San Jose did pretty good with a second and a first for taking on Wallman for nothing. Montreal ended up with 2 firsts for taking on Monahan.
And they got half
Very good.
or a full season out of him playing well. They also got some
Really
games
well.
played, which was nice. So
really well.
Another pretty rough trade that we could talk about here. The other big one that happened the other day. The Edmonton Oilers got out from under Evander Kane. We were wondering how long it might take for them to do that. Turns out very little time at all. He is sent to Vancouver in exchange for a 4th round pick. That's 117th overall this year.
He's going
And
home.
that's the deal. Is that where Kane's from?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's something.
Yeah.
They might be 32 out of 32
32
who needed Kane. They might be the last team in the league who needed him. Maybe the Rangers are ahead of them, and that's it. Like, they had a phenomenal, not this current season that we just finished, but the year before that, phenomenal season for the Canucks. And just the locker room was an issue all season. And they traded 100-point Selke level defensive forward in JT Miller, who's on a great contract as well for the next, I think, 3 or 4 years. And they traded him because there was so many locker room issues. And you just brought in the most incendiary locker room guy in the entire league. Dude.
Yeah,
that's
I don't understand it for Vancouver. I mean, you're Edmonton. That's 2
the on ice
in a row
value
now.
is phenomenal. Evander Kane is a great player. For a 4th, it's a steal. For all the outside stuff, and on top of that, it takes a lot of penalties. At least did in the playoffs. Yeah, I get what they're going for. They're trying to capitalize on a guy's low value, but they just can't risk anyone who's gonna be ruffling feathers in the locker room, and he's the king of that. He's pissed off like the last 4 teams he's played for.
Yeah, he was not well liked in Winnipeg, in Buffalo, in San Jose.
San Jose bought him out when he was their leading point scorer, didn't they? Like that.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. They were already on the downswing. They were already going into a rebuild, but like, surely they would have traded him if the value was there, right? Nobody wanted him at that point. Like,
actually, it wasn't even bought out. It was contract termination. They had grounds to terminate his deal.
Yeah.
So that's even worse than a buyout. We'll get to a buyout in a little bit here. Involving San Jose. For Edmonton, that's 2 off seasons in a row now. Your kind of biggest boat anchor contract in Cody Ceci last year, and now Evander Kane this year. You were able to get rid of both of them, and you're actually able to get assets back, which I think is incredible. And yeah, for Vancouver, I don't understand it one bit. I think that money could have been used elsewhere. Can Evander Kane be an effective player? Absolutely.
He might score 30 goals next year. He might.
And I think in his credit, I think a lot of the kind of off-ice antics and stuff like that was definitely, I don't want to say cleaned up fully, because I don't know like 100% for sure, but it's definitely better than what it was previously, in San Jose,
I would agree with that.
Buffalo, Winnipeg, because we weren't really hearing about it much. So to know what exactly he's going to be like in that Vancouver locker room, I can't say for sure. He definitely is going to be an effective player, and I think can easily live up to what his cap hit is, like no doubt. Edmonton just needed to open up money because you've got 2 massive deals that you're going to have to be working in pretty soon. I just don't get why Vancouver had to pay. Like, just be like, hey, if you want to get rid of him, we'll take him, but
They
we'll
would
take
have
him for
they
free.
would have
Give
done
us something. Like, give us a fourth.
future
Give us a fourth instead of us
considerations.
giving you a fourth.
Even just future considerations, Edmonton does that all day, right? Like clearly Vancouver offered the fourth, right? There's no way
Yeah.
Stan Bowman had the balls to be like, give me that. There's no way. He wanted that contract gone. So that
Yeah,
and I mean, a
it's
fourth
great
isn't a
for
huge price to
Edmonton,
pay, but it's
especially in
the
this
fact that
draft.
as a GM you kind of look like a bitch for giving it up. You kind of look like a schmuck, right?
Yeah, no, I would
When
agree.
somebody wants to fleece you, like guys like Julian Brisebois, Bill Zito, Vancouver's going to be in their top 5 guys they call now when they're like, "Hey, I want to see if some sucker's going to pick up his phone."
Yeah.
You're going to be at the top of the list now, so maybe he
Yeah, I
sees
don't
that as
really
a
have
good thing, but
much more to say on it. Again, like for Edmonton, Evander Kane was still an effective player for the most part when he wasn't taking the dummest
they might
penalties
be
in
able
the
to
world.
flip him for a first at the deadline or something. Like if he puts up a good year, keeps his nose
To the
clean,
right team. To the right team.
I think there are some teams that, maybe Carolina's like, we got a little cap space. We're not as heavy of a team. Maybe we need a guy who's a bit of a prick in the playoffs. We could pick him up for our second or third line, but
One, it almost makes me wonder, kind of like with this, if bringing Kane in, not to the same level, obviously, but kind of to replace that nastiness of a JT Miller, because it was very evident once JT Miller was gone, man, the Canucks were soft. Like,
maybe adds a
just
little bit of
soft.
heart.
So you're bringing a little sandpaper in, and you got to be tough. You can have all the skill in the world, but if look at Buffalo, if you don't got that grit, you don't got that toughness. Who gives a shit how much skill you have? Look at Florida. Like, grit is what wins, and Vancouver had none, so this helps a little bit. We'll see where it goes from here, but like for Edmonton again, I mean,
Yeah,
you actually were able to clear up some cap space there. You're going to continue to offload some other guys. So, like a lot for Edmonton, Vancouver, undecided right now.
I don't love it just on the prospect of what it might end up doing to their locker room.
What it could do. Yeah.
But that being said, like this could end up being an F minus minus trade. He could just be fine for them, and then they trade him for a first or something at the deadline,
Mhm.
and it's all just like, hey, that was free draft picks. We got some games out of them. Like it could be fine. So
Mhm. Yeah.
who knows? I
Yeah.
guess we'll have to see. But hopefully he doesn't piss off Quinn Hughes. Hopefully he doesn't rub Elias Pettersson the wrong way. No, Elias Pettersson number 40 because they have 2. But I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah.
Vancouver
We'll
does not have much cap space.
see
I
what happens
think
there.
they have 7 million. I think that's it going into free agency. They have 8.7 million cap space. That's almost a
Yeah,
Brock
it's
Besser.
not. Nah. But
They are trying to
we
work
can.
on an extension for Demko as well. It sounds like.
Oh, so they're planning on keeping him.
I would
Interesting.
assume so,
I mean, yeah.
but Seelov's just had a great playoffs in the minors. Like with Demko's injury,
Great.
you'd think that you want to try and keep Seelov's, but it's hard to say. They already gave a 5 years deal to Lankinen with a full no move, so you can't move him.
Can't have 3 goals. Someone's got to go. But we should keep trucking on here. We got 2 signings. These ones won't take too long to get through. The first one is the Vegas Golden Knights re-signed Riley Smith to a 1-year, $2 million AAV deal. I don't got much. It's great for both sides. Riley Smith's probably just going to keep doing this. Retire in Vegas in the end. In Vegas, you're getting a great middle 6 winger for only $2 million.
Yeah,
why not? All day.
Yeah,
One of the originals Smith, back there now.
Yeah, if I was him next offseason, I'd say like, hey, I've done that for you guys. Now do this for me and give me 8 years at 1.1, 1.2. And then whenever he feels like hanging him up, oof, ouch, owie, LTIR for 7 or 6 of those years. And, $1 million per year. I mean, that's still pretty. Yeah, that's still quite a lot of money, even though it doesn't look like it on cap wages.
Yeah. And the other one, the Dallas Stars extend their captain Jamie Benn to a 1-year, $1 million AAV contract. This one has some bonuses included. Ben was always going to stay in Dallas. People are like, "Oh, where's he going to go?" It's like it was Dallas. It was Dallas or nothing for him. He's
Unless
made
they
his money.
really
He's
didn't
coming
want
off
him.
that. Yeah, he's coming off that big whopping contract. So for him now, it's money doesn't really matter too much. It's win a cup, and you're taking less money to keep a better, more competitive team there. I kind of thought this was going to be around what it was. I thought maybe like a 2-year, like $2 million deal or 2.5, but like 1 by 1. Dude just wants to win there, so I think it's great for Ben. I think it's great for Dallas, and again, he was never going anywhere else. He was never leaving.
Yeah. If he hits all of his performance bonuses, which I do believe would include winning the cup, and playing, I want to say at least 60 games in the regular season, that would bring his total contract up to $4 million AAV. There's $3 million in performance bonuses, and that's if they check all the boxes. So that's really still not bad for what he gives you, even if you had to pay that. And obviously, you do not give a shit one bit if you win the cup. So
yeah, exactly. It's same as the Jonathan
great
Toews
deal
with Winnipeg type thing. Yeah, I love it.
It's the same thing, except he's got a history with this team, and there's not near as much of a question mark because he's, he played there last year. Meanwhile, Taves took the 2 years off. So I like this one better than that, but it's good deal for Dallas there, and good deal for Vegas with Riley Smith. I like him.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. You have some CBA news. We were kind of previously talking about the new collective bargaining agreement, and we've got a bit more news on kind of what it's going to sound like. So I'm going to let you kick us off here and hit us with the first little bit of news here and kind of explain what it's kind of sound like or what it's going to be looking like here.
Yeah, so they have been talking about the CBA for a bit here. They have been talking about a 4-year extension for the CBA. So I kind of thought they always did, 10, 12, 15-year CBAs, but I guess they're planning on doing a 4-year extension that'll kick off when this one ends. This one ends at September 2026. So I guess they're doing 4 years to get to the nice round 2030. So all of these would happen. These would all take place beginning, not this upcoming season in September 2025, but September 2026 is when they would start. These are not completely official. They have not been announced, but I do believe in the next 1, 2, 3 days, it sounds like these are going to be announced.
They're
Sounds
still
like
trying to iron out a couple other things. And I've got one that I'm like very pumped about that we'll get into at one point here.
Yeah. So there's quite a few different things in here. The NHL will be moving to an 84-game regular season. The preseason will be shortened. I assume it's 2 more games for every team in the regular season. I'm assuming 2 less preseason games. So probably the same amount of games, just more regular season.
4 preseason games, and then 84 regular season games. I always liked the nice round to 82, but where it is now, if you do that, it's basically nice and simple. You play, if you're a team in the Pacific Division, you would play every team in the Metro and Atlantic twice. 1 home, 1 away game. You'd play every team in the Central Division 3 times. And then it'd be a combination between all those teams. Some teams you play twice at home, 1 on the road, vice versa. And then it finally allows where you can play every team in your own division 4 times, 2 home, 2 away. Because there was a lot of times where a team in your division, you only play them 3 times. But now you'd get that nice round number where it's just different conference twice, other division in your conference 3 times, and then every team in your own division, you play them 4 times. And it just makes a nice round number. So, like, why not?
It's
and
good
people
for
are like,
that.
oh, but like, we want the playoffs to end the end of May. And we want 3 weeks of nothing until the draft. Like, shut up. It's like the league makes more money doing this. Salary cap keeps going up. The players actually get paid. Like, people always say, I can't believe how criminally underrated NHL players are. But let's shorten the regular season and make the league less fun. Like, grow up. I think it's good for the league.
You can't have your cake
I
and
love
eat
the
it
chaos
too in that
of it.
situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like I like the chaos of Yeah, I thought getting like a week and a half off between end of playoffs and the draft was perfect. Last year was a bit rough where we had 3 days or something, or actually I think it was
Yeah.
because the playoffs ended on a Monday and the draft was a Friday. That was a little too
They
close to
probably
a week
moved
and
the
a half.
draft up thinking they were getting a sweep, and then
Yeah.
Edmonton took it to 7.
Like
Um,
I think it's
it's
perfect that the way
it's
that it goes.
nice for the spread of games, like you were mentioning. I do think we're gonna get an expansion team in the next 4 years or something. It
That
really
fucks
sounds
it
like
up.
there's a it right, and it's too bad for, it's so nice and pretty to look at with the schedule, but it does sound like there's some guys in Atlanta. I'm not sure the exact group, but it sounds like they're very hot on the trail of trying to get it going.
Yeah. Atlanta's gonna
they've
get
already
one.
got the land for an arena, and apparently they're starting to build it before they've even got the franchise. Like they're like, we're going to show you how committed we are. This is not a NBA arena. Like they are building it for hockey, and before they've even got word they can have a team, as just a show of faith. And I mean, it's pretty
Yeah.
hard to turn
The
that
one thing I
down.
will say, this is very quick. The only way I'm on board with Atlanta getting a team, it's gotta be the Thrashers again. You have to.
I'd like it. I think it'd
You
be
have
cool.
to, in my opinion. Like you gotta bring the Thrashers back, man. Like
And you know what?
just it was
Save a
so
little
shit there,
face.
but just still iconic. Same with the
And
Coyotes. Like it was
you can
shit, but
turn
it
it
was like it's so
around.
iconic.
If they're
Yeah.
good, nobody will remember. Dude, people are treating the Panthers like they shit gold. They fucking ate shit for 30 years. I don't even know if their franchise has been around that long, but they've been nothing until 2021.
For the
Like
longest time, they were the team talked about like they should, be relocated somewhere else instead of, Arizona or Phoenix at the time.
they were
That's how
like
bad it
they were
was
like
there.
worse than Arizona to the point where people would always dunk on Arizona because they forgot the Panthers really existed much.
Yeah.
Like, and then all it takes is, good coach, good GM, couple good drafts, good moves. All of a sudden, you got an absolute wagon. Like, you can turn a franchise around pretty quick with a couple of wins. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it would be super cool to see a big meteoric rise once again for the Thrashers. I think that'd be
I
sweet.
would love it. What else do we got in the CBA though? Obviously, potentially
Yeah.
extending the season length. What else are we working with here?
Uh, Player contracts will be term limited to a maximum of 7 years for players re-signing with their current club and 6 years for players on the free agency market. So that's just one less from the current 8 with your team, 7 in free agency now.
Because that works out well for
They
Edmonton because you can sign McDavid to
He
you can
might be the
still lock
last
him
player
on
with
an
an
eight
8-year
year.
deal.
Well, no,
It's
because if it
possible he's the
starts in
last player.
September of 2026, like I'm, as a Sharks fan, like I'm thinking like Celebrini and Will Smith, they're available for their big boy, and I'm assuming they're probably going to get big boy extensions next offseason, like July 1st, they can sign them. I think it would be
So
up until it kicks in September of 2026.
so that's what I thought, and that's what when most of these rules come in, apparently this one specifically is next week's like it's apparently the week after free agency starts. That a week after, if this goes through before then, that would be the last time you can sign an 8-year deal. Apparently there is
Really,
some
even
sort
if it
of,
kicks in and
yeah, right, everything else kicks in then, unless they've
interesting.
got some, unless they've really written it out wrong here. From what I'm reading, it
That's
sounds like
interesting. I did not know that.
they've got some sort of retroactive ruling on that. I I don't know if they I don't
Well, I
really
mean,
know why, but
if that's what they got, I mean, there's probably a
yeah.
reasoning behind it or a certain way that it goes. So
Yeah.
makes
And
sense. But what other?
yeah, we could definitely touch on that once it's fully come out as well.
Yeah, I'm
To see
indifferent
if that is
on
the
on
case.
that though. Like between the 8-7, I don't know the reasoning behind it. You know,
I think they just want to lessen guys being locked in. I think they got so burned by Kovalchuk and so burned by DiPietro that even though we're all the way down to 8-year deals, far from the 15s before, I think they're just so afraid of, you can still, even with 8 years, you can still have a Louis Erickson contract. You can have a,
yeah,
contract that's just absolutely brutal.
yeah.
So
Well, and it
I
probably
get
means
it.
more money for the players per year. So
generally.
Players get
So
paid more. All right.
yeah, I inherently I feel a little bit against it just because it is when you have players you love on your team, you always want them to re-sign for the most amount of time. You want to have your favorite players for longer. So,
Locked in,
but
yeah.
I do think it makes a lot of sense, and it
Yeah,
kind of seems
I
like
can
both sides
understand.
want it to a degree. So,
Oh, okay. All right.
this next one's a big one. A comprehensive playoff salary cap mechanism, which has many machinations to account for player acquisition, will effectively close the LTIR loophole for teams to significantly pad payroll by using injury relief space. They
Yeah, I
don't
love it.
like, yeah,
I don't
I,
need to even dive into too much. I think it's great. We've been banging for it for years. I'm surprised we actually got it.
yeah, I,
Kind of felt like they were just going to be like, it's not that big of a deal and just pushed it aside. I'm glad they actually
well,
are.
so that's what Bettman's been saying for months leading up to this. He's been saying, oh, it's
Yeah.
not an issue. It's not an issue. Nobody thinks it's an issue. Nobody's talking. He sounds like Trump a little bit. The way he's always like, I know you guys are all asking about it, but nobody's talking about this. You're all like he's trying to gaslight the world against themselves as if we can't
Yeah.
talk to each other. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah, I'm all for that one.
luckily,
I think that's great.
yeah. I love the description of which has many machinations to account for player acquisition. So there's clearly something there that if you get a player, you can go over. Maybe I don't know if there's going to be separate salary caps for the playoffs and regular season, or I'm struggling to think of a way it'll be different from now, but also not create a new loophole. But I guess we'll
Yeah.
have to wait and see.
Yeah,
They sound
see
pretty
what
confident about it, which is good.
we'll see.
Um,
Yeah, we'll see.
signing signing rights to draft picks will be uniform across the board until age 22, regardless of the league prospects are picked from or which league they go to next. So this is the whole CHL player, but then getting drafted, but deciding to play for an NCAA team. The team still holds his rights for 4 years. It doesn't change the amount. It doesn't move up his RFA or UFA eligibility. So
Hmm.
I think this is just good for the CHL players and stuff, like,
Yeah.
or really for
And
I guess for the teams that draft them, keeping their
yeah.
rights for longer.
Yeah, well, and part of that with the CHL, again, it's not confirmed, but it's sounding like they're trending towards something where um certain eligibility to play in the AHL. Like we've seen a lot of players that get drafted in the CHL or from the CHL and they're, 18, 19. I believe the cutoff is you got to be 20. So like there's been a lot of, you look at a lot of guys that kind of tore it up this year in the CHL were 19-year-olds already signed by their team and they weren't necessarily good enough for the NHL team, but they're too good for the CHL. But because of the agreement, they couldn't play in the AHL. So they just had to
Yeah.
go down and dominate in the CHL. So it sounds like they're kind of working out an agreement where the NHL team can decide if a player's at a certain point, like, do we want him in the AHL or do we want to send him back? Which I think kind of hurts some CHL teams because you can just lose a lot of top end talent like that. But it's also good for the players that, for their development. You don't really develop much dominating against lesser opponents as opposed to going up
Yeah, if you
against
put up
guys
2 points
just
per
below the
game,
NHL.
you don't need to go
Yeah.
back there. Like
Yeah.
it hurts
Like
the
if you get
CHL
drafted
a
as a,
bit,
yeah.
but it's kind of guys who probably shouldn't have been in the CHL that year to begin with. So
Yeah. Well, look at
it's
a guy like Michael Misa. He was 2 points per game, almost a goal per game. He's going to be one of the top draft picks this year. And if he doesn't make the NHL team wherever he gets drafted to, he has to go back there. And then, like, what good does that do him when he already dominated the league and
yeah, wow.
again was doing this? Like, it's like go back and just do it again. It's like that doesn't help his development at all. So it's
Yeah.
great for player development. It kind of hurts the CHL a bit. 'Cause again, you lose good players, but it helps the players take that next step. And
Yeah.
you gotta do right by the players.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the CHL, it's about developing those players. If they're not going to go back and develop any more than they could be elsewhere, then what's the point? Like, people
Yeah,
are if people want to watch the top tier hockey, they're going to be watching the NHL, not the CHL, as much as I do like the CHL. So it's
love
about
me some
development.
CHL. Yeah,
So
it is exactly it. Any other CBA?
A couple other ones. One of them we have actually touched on, and I had not heard anyone talk about it again until this. The complete and blanket outlawing of player deferred salaries in contracts, which previously lower the cap hits of deals. This is one example of significantly more stringent contractual limitations that are expected to be new in the new CBA for players. So
that's what Frank Vetrano did
yeah,
in Anaheim.
and
And
luckily
the
he's not
NHL
enough of a needle
quickly
mover or
kinda
making enough money that wasn't a huge thing. But like, man, could you
yeah.
imagine if McDavid deferred salary? Can you
Well,
imagine
the
if he was
NHL kinda
1 mil
shut it
AAV
down.
next year? Like,
The NHL kinda shut it down when that happened. Like, they didn't make a big thing, but they kinda told teams, like, "Okay, like, this was a nice loophole pulled by Anaheim, but, like, we're kinda putting our foot down on ones like this,
Gary
and we're gonna
Bettman
make it
has
official."
Gary Bettman has just enough power in the league that if he says, "Hey, this guy did that," I would be really mad if somebody did that again. He has just enough power to stop people from doing that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we've seen in
And
the
honestly,
past.
I'm kinda glad he did, though. Like, I'm glad he
No,
was able to
yeah.
stop other teams
Sometimes it's
from
kind of
doing it.
fucked up. In this situation, absolutely nothing wrong with it because we don't need the
Mhm.
deferred salary. It it really makes a joke out of the salary cap. The salary cap would not matter for most
Absolutely.
players, for most teams,
Yeah.
and it's good that he did that because yeah, otherwise teams could just completely circumvent it, and he he has just that perfect level of power. Like we've seen in the past, like I don't even remember what exactly they did, but there was something about was it Luongo's contract that got signed in Vancouver where they ended up getting like fined. I think they got fined like money and then also lost a first round pick. This was like probably around 10 years ago, maybe a bit more even. But like
I'm not 100% sure.
they signed it was either Luongo or Corey Schneider, but they signed him to a completely 100% legal deal, but it went against something that they didn't like. And the next season, they were just like, "We don't like that you did that." And completely legal what they did, but they were just like, "Yo, you're losing a first round pick. We didn't
Yeah, I
like
can't
it."
remember the exact details of all that,
I
but
don't
I vaguely
remember.
remember what you're
I think it
talking
had
about,
to do
though.
with the he got because they traded Luongo to Florida, and then yeah, but it's just one of those things where they were like, "What you did wasn't against the rules, but we can just fine you this because we didn't like it." So like any
Mhm.
other team, even though it wasn't against the rules, if a second team did a deferred salary contract, I wouldn't be shocked if they got docked something. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's good that they're
No,
getting on top of
that's fair
that.
enough. Yeah.
What else do we got here? We got signing bonuses capped at 60%. That doesn't really mean much to us. Pretty much just the players
Yeah.
that they get their money at the end of the day without as long as they don't get terminated. Revenue split will remain the same 50-50 between owners and players. Uh, I kind of think that's a win for the players because it sounds like the owners really did want, obviously, the billionaires want a bigger slice of the pie. Shocker.
They
So
wanted more.
good for
Yeah.
the players keeping strong on that. Significant increase in Stanley Cup playoff bonus pool fund, nearly doubling previous amount. Playoff bonus pool fund, is that like what guys like Taves and Ben are going to get paid out of?
I think
Maybe.
so, yeah.
So
That's what I would assume based on
nearly
how it's
doubling
worded, yeah.
previous amount. Doesn't have a number, but I'm assuming when this comes out officially, there'll be a number attached to that. Uh, Establishment of a full-time emergency backup goalie position within every organization, so that I love the official wording here. So that amateur goalies signed out of beer league are not entering games in rare injury circumstances.
Boo!
They didn't
That
think David
sucks.
Ayres was funny.
That's
It
Scott Foster. He was a dog.
Scotty. So it makes sense for a league, but also
Yeah, it
the
makes sense. I
it makes
understand it.
sense. But like, thank God we at least got those moments because
Yeah,
God, those were cool. Those were really
they
cool.
were awesome. They very rarely happen, but when they did, everybody, like collectively, was watching. Like I
Yeah.
remember, I was in New York watching the San Jose Sharks play in Madison Square Garden. And while watching that, we pulled up the game because we wanted to see. We heard like, oh shit, there's an emergency backup going in, and we had to see. We had to watch.
Which game was that? Was that Foster or David Ayres?
David Ayres. Yeah,
that one was crazy too, because he was in for like over half the game. He went in with like I think there was like 12 minutes left in the second. Like I think he was in there for.
I think it was. I can't remember. I think it was only third period in that one. I could be wrong, but nonetheless, it's like it just captivates you that you're like, I gotta see this, and all eyeballs turn to that game. But like again, from a league standpoint, from a professional standpoint, like I get it.
You should have more than 4 goalies in the arena at all times. It makes sense. And you know what? It'll still be fun when the e-bug gets in. It'll still probably be, it just won't be, some guy at home being like, hey, get the fuck over here. A goalie just went down. Like it's going to be a guy who is always there, always kind of ready. He's probably still not going to be near the same level. He's probably still going to be there sometimes, or maybe they're a 50-year-old. Like you're probably still going to get some goofy situations, but it's just going to be less. Yeah. And you know what?
Overall,
full-time e-bug? That sounds exactly like something that Fleury wanted. So you know what? Maybe we'll get another game out of Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah, there's always a chance. What else? Is that the last
guys faking injuries so that they see Fleury out there?
To get him in one last time. Any other CBA news?
We got 3 other things. This one, nothing really to say on it because it's so vague. Blanket improvement for player benefits, brackets, health insurance, post-playing health insurance.
It's just stuff for the players. Good for them, though.
Workers' comps, player payroll taxes, all to be paid out of the owner's share. So that's actually a pretty solid win for the players there. Teams will no longer be able to mandate a player dress code for arriving/departing from games. I kind of love that. I know some people aren't going to love it. I think plenty of teams will still do it on their own, of their own volition, but at least on an official level, you can't outwardly be like, fuck you, you didn't wear the suit. Like, it's the NHL. If guys want to be dicks about it, they can be dicks about it. They can get healthy scratch because of it, but it's the beginning of a league-wide kind of mentality change, so I don't mind that at all. And the final thing, as previously announced back in February, the next 3 seasons of the salary cap's upper limit, $95.5 million, $104 million, and $113 million. The cap is going up big.
The league's doing well. Yeah, and adding those 2 games, it's just going to help keep boosting the salary cap. So I'm staying on. I'm just going to keep banging that drum. But yeah, overall, it's just a lot of good changes for the league, for the players. So
none of them seem like, fuck, I hate that this happened. Like, at least at the moment, it doesn't look like any of these are bad. At the worst, some of them are kind of neutral that I don't really know much. So that seems pretty good. I've also
better than bad.
I didn't know that they could do a 4. Well, I knew they could, but I definitely didn't expect this to be a 4-year extension on the CBA. So it would only be going to 2030 because, the last few have all been 10, 12, 13, 15 years. So
it makes you wonder if maybe it's
planning for an expansion.
A 4-year one, maybe. Either planning for expansion or maybe Gary Bettman, he's got 4 years left in him.
I feel like he's going to hang on till the start of next season when this kicks off, and then maybe he'll play out the season and be done. I don't think he has that long left, but I mean, it's not a physically taxing
he kind of sets
job.
A timeline,
he doesn't seem like he's on death's door or nothing. Like I don't think he's on his way.
I think more than it just kind of sets a timeline for when, like at the very latest, he's probably gone. I think it's not. We say gone, like out is the commissioner, not like
out is the commissioner. Yeah, gone like Lou Lamoriello.
Yeah,
or so we think.
We'll see.
Somebody
that's all the news on the new CBA stuff. If anything else more official or any new news comes out, we will cover that. Before we move on to our free agency predictions that we're going to be doing, let's talk a bit about the draft. Obviously, we're recording this the night before the NHL draft. This will be out the morning of. So if you're listening to this the day before the draft, just maybe some good insight, some good stuff. And if you're listening to it afterwards, well,
How
either
wrong are we?
skip or listen to probably how wrong a lot of this shit is that we're talking about. I'll throw the microphone to you. Ask you, is there anything you're wondering about with the draft, or anything kind of that's interesting to you that you're hearing, or curious, or like kind of what are your thoughts or concerns about the draft? Because it sounds like it's going to be a wild draft. It sounds like there's a lot of unpredictability happening and could be one of the craziest drafts we've seen in a while. So, what do you think?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it's one of the least predictable ones. There's quite a couple of guys that I'm so interested to see where they end up. I really think the top, I'll say 7 of this draft seems really strong. I don't know. I guess what are some of your thoughts on the first, like the top 10? Because obviously we could go over the top 30 or something, but like the juicy bits are in the top 10 to 15, right? Like, I guess I don't know if you want to go over some of what you posted on the TikTok and
Yeah, we
Instagram,
can
but
go over a little bit, not all of it, but we can definitely go over some of it. And like, obviously with the draft, it's from what it's looking like, at least, and from what everything's pointing to, the Islanders are going to take Matthew Schaefer. That's a given. You take the best player available. A lot of rumors swirling around, a lot of talk that if they're able to pull it off, they'd love to jump back up into that 5 to 7 range and grab the Long Island native James Higgins as well. Don't know how they're going to be able to pull that off, because it's kind of sounding like Montreal is getting pretty close on a Noah Dobson trade with the Islanders. The biggest thing is just Montreal and Dobson are so far apart in contracts that I don't know if it's going to work out. But if that does
why
happen,
trade for a guy if you're so far apart on an extension? Like,
yeah. Again, this is all
seems a little
rumors,
foolhardy.
like nothing's confirmed, but it sounds like Dobson and them, they're at 10 mil or whatever, and Montreal's at 7.8. So pretty far apart on an 8-year deal. But if you're the Islanders and you trade Dobson, I don't see a way you can get back up into the top 10 or in that 5 to 7 range to grab Higgins. Without Dobson, like that's your ticket to get you there.
Yeah.
But you're getting Matthew Schaefer at one.
Unless Nashville is really high on themselves, unless they really think last year was just a blip on the radar, and then you could, send Nashville some of your best players, I guess, other than Horvat and Barzal. I mean, I don't know. How much does an Anders Lee, how much is that worth? Like, yeah,
not
it's
contract, not much.
Definitely, yeah,
great guy, great player,
5th overall. So
yeah, but like it's really, for the longest time, it was kind of the draft starts at 3. Schaefer's going to go 1, Misa's going to go 2, and then it's from there on out. I don't know if I'm just getting really sucked into the vortex of rumors, but it's really, well, first of all, for my mock draft, I had San Jose taking Michael Misa at 2nd overall. But
I think that's
a lot of the rumors
pick.
A lot of the rumors are swirling that San Jose is going to be taking Anton Frundell at 2nd overall.
Is he also a centerman?
Yeah.
Right.
Which would lead for Michael Misa to then fall to 3 to Chicago, which is obviously what they wanted all along. So it's really the draft starts at 2, because I have no idea how that's going to go. And that it's not one of those ones where it alters the entire draft. Like, it alters the top 3. I think it either goes San Jose takes Misa, Chicago takes Frundell, or vice versa. And then I think that's still your top 3. I don't see either team going outside of those 2.
You don't think if it goes Schaefer Misa, you don't think there's a chance anybody goes for maybe a Porter Martone or a Denoye?
I don't think so. I think for San Jose, it's best player available because you're not getting that defenseman, right? Like if there was a defenseman that was like just a tier below Misa, but like still kind of in that top like 6 range, you probably just take them. Kind of similar to Chicago last year with Levshinov.
Yeah.
But there's not. So for San Jose,
Yeah,
it's best
when's
player
the next
available.
defenseman on the list? Like
I had in mind, I had
Radom
the next
Murtka?
defenseman. Yeah,
Jackson Smith?
Redeem
Like
Murtka, I think is the second best.
projected
And
11th.
you just don't take him at second overall. If you want him, you trade back.
Yeah.
So for them, it's just best player available. And then for Chicago, I think you still want a center. I think you want a center that you can transition to the wing if need be. If you feel like Frank Nazar's your second line center of
Most
the future,
centers
but you have
nowadays
the
need to
luxury
learn
of
wing.
yeah,
Like there's
or
so
you have the
many
luxury of Frank
centers.
Nazar to the wing. So I kind of think that's like look at San Jose. They drafted Will Smith at 4th overall in the 2023 draft, and that was going to be their first line center of the future. And then obviously they get Celebrini, and then they both make their debut. But Will Smith didn't really. He was great all throughout, like at the college level, with the U.S. developmental program, but didn't quite translate to the NHL level great as a centerman. And there was a lot of growing pains, a lot of struggles. The Sharks moved him to the wing, and it clicked, and he was fantastic. So that's why I'm like, San Jose's taking a center because it's looking like Will Smith is going to be on the wing at the NHL level because that's where he thrived more. That's where his skill set was better suited.
Yeah.
And if you're San Jose or Chicago, you can do that with either Michael Misa or Anton Frendel. I think Frendel's a little bit more suited.
I was going to say
better
Frondel
translate to the wing. Like I think Michael Misa probably is actually just overall better as a centerman. But Frendel, you've got that luxury of he can probably do both at the NHL level and thrive at either or.
Yeah. I'm so interested to see how that top 5 shakes out. I'm really high on Porter Martone. I know we've talked about this off the podcast, but something about the way he plays, I can really see that guy being a absolutely elite player in the NHL if he develops right. I'm very interested to know where you had Brady Martin as well.
So
he's another
Brady
guy
Martin
that seems everywhere in people's mock drafts. Some people have him in the top 3 because they're madmen. Some people have him at 12. Like, I think he's the guy that if he gets picked early, that could mess up a lot of draft picks after him, or at least change what was planned.
Yeah, kind of like the Beckett Seneca of last year.
Yeah.
Where he went 3rd overall and it sent the draft into a blender. So one thing that I really like with Brady Martin, I'll make this quick, is so the NHL is doing the decentralized draft for like the GMs and the scouts and all them. There's not going to be all of the, GMs and whatnot down on the floor at their tables and whatnot. Like they're all going to be back at their, their war room, their office, back at their facilities and doing the draft from there. And part of that that's kind of exciting is it's kind of sound like every team, because they're not going to have their head of scouting, their GM, their whoever making their pick. They're all grabbing like kind of different celebrities, and famous people to be there for the draft to make the pick, which I think is really cool.
Right.
San Jose's got a great one that I'm very excited for.
Is it Joe?
No. Oh, Hall of Famer Joe.
Yes.
He made the pick last year.
That is true. That is true. He did that last year.
San Jose is.
You could have him do it every year, and people wouldn't complain.
Yeah. San Jose is going with San Jose native Bailey, the WWE superstar.
Oh,
my favorite female wrestler. So I'm like, that's pretty fucking cool. But she better say the right name. But all the top prospects who are going to be like in that first round range that are going to be in their attendance, except Brady Martin. He is staying at home on the farm with his family so his parents don't have to be away from the farm during this time of year. He's staying at home to work on the farm, and help his family. I was like, damn,
Oh.
you know what? He's passing up on one of the biggest moments of his life to be there at the draft, to stay at home, be with family, and work on the farm, which I think kind of goes to show his work ethic and his commitment to, his team, what's important to him. For where I have him going at number 9 to the Buffalo Sabres.
You got a hard-working guy like that going to the Sabres.
There's a lot there, yeah, but there's a
How
lot of
could
smoke with
you?
Utah. But and again, it's what I'm talking about, right? Where I'm doing the mock draft. I'm like, yeah, I know Utah loves him, but I don't know if they take him at 4th overall. I could see Utah trading back for him
I
and
was
then
gonna say
taking
if they
him.
trade back to like 6 or
But
something, sure.
then
But
then I could
4
see
is a
it.
bit much.
But if Utah's picking at 4, I don't see them taking Brady Martin. And
There's still
I
a
could see Buffalo
best
going
player
for him.
available.
A guy that could take that could
I
play
definitely think
center or
Buffalo
wing.
would if he got
He's
there.
just
Do you think he slips that far?
I
guess
think he
obviously you do if
could,
you had
based
it.
on the teams in front, because I look at who's in front. Nashville, I actually have them taking Porter Martone. I've heard that they're really high on him, and they're kind of looking more for a winger. Philadelphia and Boston, they need centermen, so they're going to take the best natural center available. But I think Brady Martin can kind of do both, and with the players there for Philly and Boston, it makes too much sense. And for Seattle, that's where I have Radim Murka going. Right-handed defenseman, which Seattle needs, and he plays for the Seattle Thunderbirds. So
That's also very fair.
you keep him in Seattle, guy that's been there and developing. You keep him in the city. He already knows the area. Easy transition for him. And then leaves Buffalo. And I think you take a heart and soul guy that can be a great leader, bring some nastiness, some goal scoring. And I'm really high on Brady Martin. I love him as a player. I love his game. And I think he's kind of what Buffalo needs. Like, wants and needs. Like, they desperately just need a guy like that. Like, you can't have Alex.
He'll be a
Tuch
great
doing
trade asset to go win a
all
cup
of
with
it.
someone else, probably.
Probably. But yeah, so I do have Brady.
We dunk
Martin
on him a lot, but I
9.
would love the Sabres to make the playoffs and shake it off one of these years. It would be fun to see.
I would. I would love that. I don't know if it's going to happen,
Especially for the
but
fans,
I
man.
would love it.
The people who are still fans of that franchise, like you have a willpower that is unmatched, frankly.
Yeah.
A couple other guys that I just want to throw out the names and see where you had them landing and what overall. I guess how far down in the draft did you go? Did you do the entire first round?
I did full first round. Yeah.
Okay.
1 to 32.
Who do you have taking Victor Eklund?
I have Victor Eklund going to the Pittsburgh Penguins as actually one of their back-to-back picks, as we know officially now that they are getting the 12th overall pick from the Rangers. That was part of the JT Miller and the Marcus Pettersson deal. And for Pittsburgh, you were just hoping to get a first-round pick for Marcus Pettersson. The fact that you actually got the 12th overall pick in the end.
From the President's Trophy winning team last year? That's pretty nice.
Like that's pretty crazy and incredible. So I do have the Pittsburgh Penguins taking Victor Eklund at 11 or 12, whatever. You got back-to-back picks, so who cares who goes at what spot? But
which is which.
I think he's a undersized guy, but he plays like he's the biggest guy out there.
Yeah.
He's got that dog on a bone mentality, and wherever he goes, teams are going to love him.
Who do you have taking Roger McQueen?
Roger McQueen, first of all, great name. I ended up having him actually go, I had him going 10th to Anaheim. Anaheim loves their big bodies.
Oh, yeah.
That's all they've done the last couple years is they're like, oh, just size. That Roger McQueen fits that bill.
6'5", 192. That's, oh man. That's a big boy.
I think they would love if a guy like Radim Murka fell to them, because that's a big defenseman. And if it's between Roger McQueen and Murka, they're both available there. They'd probably take Murka, actually. But because he's gone in mine, they just grab the next big boy there.
All right, I like it. I won't do too many more of these because we do want to move on at some point. I will hit you with one final one. Assuming you have him in the first round, even Joshua Ravensbergen from Prince George, the projected first goalie in the draft.
Yeah.
Who do you think breaks the ice taking a goaltender? Assuming
I'm
this is the
not.
first goalie you have.
Yeah. So I actually do have him in here. I'm not fully convinced that he's going to be the first goalie drafted. Most likely he is, but again, it's definitely not a sure thing. It's a 50-50.
Goalies seem to come out of nowhere all of a sudden in the draft. Like it, it's
yeah.
so hard to predict. Most people assumed Vasilevsky would be the first goalie taken in his draft, and then I think it was like 8 or 9 picks before him, somebody grabbed Malcolm Subban.
Yeah.
Like it.
Um.
Goalies are impossible to predict.
Yeah. A lot of the people I've seen along them going to Nashville with one of their 3 first-round picks, but I'm looking at Nashville and the goal is to kind of win now, and I don't fully
They
think
just
that they have
traded
one
a
of those
future
later
goalie.
first. Yeah, so it's like, why would you trade a goalie like Askarov to get a first that you're just going to use on another goalie that, again, in my opinion, is probably not going to be as good as Askarov?
Yeah, we have
doesn't make sense.
Askarov at home.
He's not going to be one of Nashville's 3 firsts, but I have him going at 31 to the Philadelphia Flyers with their third first-round pick. The Flyers desperately need a goalie.
They need goalie.
And you take a swing on what's kind of sound like the top goalie. I don't know if he'll be the first goalie gone, but in my opinion, is the top goalie in the draft.
He's really the only goalie's name I've even heard brought up.
Yeah,
really. I guess Jack Ivankovic his name's come up.
And what is it, Frolov? I think his name's Frolov. He's the goalie that I think actually could get taken before
Semyon Frolov. Yep.
Yeah, I think he could get taken
in
before
the NHL.
Ravensbergen. But again, for Philly, you kind of need to have something in your pipeline for a goaltender. So
I absolutely love that pick because they've got 3, so it's not like you're using your only first rounder on a goalie. They've got 3, so that's plenty. And they are one of the teams that needs goaltending the most in the NHL right now. They might need goalie the most out of any team right now. So
yeah, we still got a little bit of time. You can hit me with one more player if there's one more player you're curious about.
One more player. I'm sure I can find a fellow right here. Where is he? Where is he, you freak? I know you're in here. Carter Bear.
Carter Bear. This is 100% where I want him to go. I have him going 14th to Columbus.
Oh, okay.
I think he fits just perfectly in there. One of, if not the hardest working guy in the draft, and was probably going to be a top 10, but he did, tear his Achilles, and that will kind of scare teams. So I think he's going to kind of fall a bit, but I think Columbus will take him all day. You've got a bunch of forward prospects, so like if the injury is that bad, he doesn't pan out, okay, it's fine. You got another first. But if he's healthy and it hits, you might have just gotten steal of the draft there. And so for Columbus, I think you can afford to take that swing there. And I think he fits someone perfectly for kind of what Columbus needs. He can either be wing or center. I like him maybe more of a winger. But I think he'd be fantastic as a member of the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah, especially since they have a lot of really good point producers there, but they don't really have any shoot the lights out snipers. And the vast majority of the guys in this upcoming draft, like, they're putting up crazy. Some of these guys are putting ludicrous, goofy video game numbers of points, but the vast majority of them are getting way more assists than they are goals. Bear is one of the first ones that really jumps out at 56 games. He had 40 goals and 42 assists. So almost even there for not too far under 2 points per game. So I think he could fit in real well with, if his development goes well and he stays healthy, if you get him playing with a Kent Johnson and Adam Fantilli, Voronkov, any of those guys. It could be a
Mhm.
real nice fit there.
Yeah, I completely agree. But I think that's kind of wrapping up the draft talk there. Again, it's from what it sounded like, it could be one of the craziest drafts we've seen in a while. There could be a lot of movement, a lot of big trades, not even involving draft picks, just outside stuff involving other players and prospects and whatnot. So totally impossible to say what's all going to happen. But again, if you want to view the full mock draft, they are up on the TikTok and the Instagram for your viewing. And if you got any thoughts about our questions, you can let us know in there because, again, it's just a chaotic, fun time of the year. And we're just diving right into it. We didn't have much turnaround from the end of the playoffs, but we're here and we're going with it. And again, can't wait to see how the entirety of the draft plays out because I think there could be a couple good steals in the second round, despite it not being a deep draft. But
Yeah.
and for Flames
Every
fans, I do
year.
have just for Flames fans, I also do. You're gonna have to view it, but I do have the Flames taking a Calgary Hitmen in the first round. And if you're a
Oh
fan of the
yeah,
Flames, you know exactly who that is.
I love
And
it.
that'd be a dream scenario for Calgary, I think. But we can move on to our free agent predictions because the next episode that we have that will be coming out will be, I think it's probably going to be a late Tuesday one where most of the chaos of the free agency day will be done, or at least the
Yeah, that's
majority
gonna
of
be a
stuff
big.
on
That's
July
gonna be a big
1st.
episode.
So we're here to do some predictions. Then we can kind of review them and see how they pan out. What we've got here, this is from Cap Wages. This is the top 15 free agents based on their projected AAV. And again, it's not from the rumors what we're hearing. It's based on their player comparables, their numbers, and all that. So we've got our top 15. We can go through them one by one and throw out a couple predictions on where we think they're going to go.
All right. Well, I guess do we want to start right at the beginning and go with the big dog first?
The big dog first, Mitch Marner.
Mitch Marner. Man, there's obviously the rumor mill says he's going to go anywhere, but like,
and then the rumors
oh,
of 7-year deal, 2-year deal, 3-year deal, 4, like,
yeah,
him and his camp might drag it out until the end of July, early August. Like, there's so much stuff. We're just gonna have to wait and see. But with Mitch Marner, where do you think he actually ends up?
I think there
Hanging his hat.
is a very good chance that he'll go to Vegas, but that's not who I'm going to pick specifically because of the rumors of how long him and his agent want to wait to sign this deal. They don't want to sign it by the time our next episode comes out. They want to wait a couple of weeks, maybe even a month, and see what's really, really out there, who's serious, and then sign a big deal. And that means they'll be doing it after a bunch of guys are already signed. And that's why I think he's going to sign probably a shorter term deal with the Anaheim Ducks. I think they are going to offer him more money than any of the other serious contenders. I think they're going to be able to offer way more than Vegas and the like, except they're already going to have gone out because they already look like a team poised to take that step. If they go out and they get, if they get a Gavrikov, an Aaron Ekblad, if they get some of these other guys on top of what they have and then say you can be a part of this as well, I think that's enough between that and the money that he's going to end up going to Anaheim.
I don't hate that. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of rumors about Vegas and all that stuff. But yeah, going off if apparently they're planning to go to, end of July, I don't know if Vegas is going to wait that long. And I don't know if they're going to have the money at that point. So you know what? That was my initial pick for the longest time, but I'm like, I don't know if Vegas is going to wait that long. So maybe called a homer pick, but I'll throw out San Jose, even if I could see a 2-year league max deal. Go join the young core there. You know, I've heard rumors that Marner
Him in
wants to go
celebrating
to
would
a
be so fun to
contender.
watch. So fun
Yeah,
to
I've
watch.
heard I've heard rumors that Marner wants to go to a contender and win, but I've also heard that he wants to go somewhere where he can get paid and potentially spend a long time. So I do something where he gets paid because again, you know, the Sharks bought out Mark-Edward Vlasic today, and that opens up even more money now they got to spend to get to the cap floor. And it wasn't for cap reasons. I genuinely believe it was them doing Vlasic a solid of, hey, you know what? We don't really have room for you anymore with how clogged the left side is. We're going to buy you out. You still get your money and try and land on a contender and go and try and win a cup. Because you weren't going to be able
Yeah.
to trade that contract. You didn't want to waste a year of his career by having him be a seventh guy and play 30 games or something. He was great for you. One of the best at his peak, at his position. But it's time to move on. So they're just doing right by the player of, hey, go try and win.
Yeah.
So you gotta spend money. So I could just see Marner, hey, whatever the maximum is, 2 years,
1 or
come
2
play with
year
our
at
young guys, and
literally the max of like I think it's 18-ish mil right now. Like they have
that doesn't even get San Jose to the cap floor.
55.6
Yeah,
million. Like you could give out
and
3 league maximum contracts, which would all be
yeah,
unprecedented and still have room to
money to
sign
work with. Yeah,
an Ekblad or something. Like it's crazy how much room they have.
yeah.
So
So I could see that happening. And then he gets away from the big media of Toronto. He gets to go be, you know, with the guys he's really close with, and Thornton and Marlowe, who are working with the Sharks organization. A lot of
yeah,
things make sense for it. It really comes down to, is his goal to go to a contender right now? If it's not, I think San Jose makes sense for a lot of reasons. But I think Vegas is still there. Anaheim is definitely a solid option. So we'll wait
yeah.
and see what happens
I think
whenever it
with San Jose, he gets a
happens.
bit more money. With Anaheim, he'd get a little bit less, but more chance to win soon. And then with Vegas, he'd get
Yeah.
much more chance to win, but clearly the least money of those 3 options.
Yeah.
So, you know, if he does choose one of those teams, we'll really kind of see where his allegiances lie
Yeah, we'll
versus
know.
winning
Yeah.
now. Is it a team he wants to just be with for 2 years or for a long time? Or does he just want to make fat stacks? Because you know what?
Yeah.
Everyone always wants to talk about the players that they they will take the sweetheart deal. They just want to win. You know what? There is something to be said for like not everyone has to want the cup that bad, you know? If you're just a gun for hire and it's just I'm going to go out there put out points not because I give a shit about it, but because that will get me the most money on my next contract. Kind of almost like a UFC fighter. Like I can respect that in a way where it's just I want to
Yeah.
produce not for the glory,
Yeah.
but because my that makes my bank fatter. So,
Yeah. 100%.
although if they're like that, I want to see him embrace it. All right, don't be wishy washy about
100%.
it.
Yeah. Moving on to the next player we got here. Number 2, we got Brock Besser. Do you want me to kick this one off?
Yeah,
Pretty simple, pretty basic. Minnesota Wild. Brock Besser goes home. Minnesota needs help on the wing in their top 6. They got a lot of money opening up that they can spend. I think it makes perfect sense.
especially with the moving out
There's really
Rossi.
not much behind it. Like it's, you get help in your top 6. He goes home. He wants to be there. Why not?
Yeah, I'm struggling to really think of anywhere else that makes that level of sense. You know, I could see them. I could see enough money get shelled out to him that he goes somewhere like Boston, maybe. I don't think Boston believes that they're a bottom team. I just cannot see the team accepting that they are anything less than playoff contenders.
Yeah,
So I think they could be in on it, but for most likely, I got to agree. I think Minnesota is the most likely option.
it
He's been
makes
linked to them
sense.
for a bit. They're moving out a guy in their top 6 already. It it just makes sense there.
Yeah,
How much do
I
you think
think
he'd
so.
make in Minnesota?
I could honestly see a 7-year deal, 8 mil per year, and I think he takes that.
I think he probably does too, and I really do not mind that for Minnesota,
Yeah,
especially with the cap
I
going
think
up,
he's
obviously, as
great.
much as it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I think that's a good deal. Uh,
Third on the list here. Oh, do you have something else?
no, I was just going to
Investor? Or no?
introduce number 3 here.
Oh, yeah, no, you take it. Yeah.
Number 3, we got Nikolai Ehlers.
It's
Sounds like
confirmed he's
he is.
going to the market, but the door is not closed on a Jets return.
Yeah, he's still in talks with the Jets, but definitely wants to see what else is out there. And something tells me once he hears what other people are offering, I don't think he's going back to the Jets.
Yeah, no.
I think if they
I
wanted
think
him
he's
that
gone.
bad, they would have got it done.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Ehlers, he could end up going to quite a few different teams. I've got two picks in my head. One's chaos, and the other one feels like it makes sense. So I'll say the one that makes sense. The Carolina Hurricanes. I think they're gonna want Mitch Marner. I don't think Mitch Marner wants them unless they really shell out money, and probably for short term. It's just not going to happen for him there. So I think they're going to get the next best thing. They're going to go for Nick Ehlers in free agency.
What was your chaos one?
The Toronto Maple Leafs.
Oh, fair. I'm right with you, Nikolai Ehlers to Carolina. They have the money to make it work, and he fits exactly what they need. They need more help upfront scoring, especially in their top 6. He fits the bill for, and again, you've got money, you can make it work. So quite
he
a
just
bit.
Seems
of
like
money,
a Hurricane
actually.
player, doesn't he?
He really does. Yeah, he kind of fits that mold of what their forward core is and kind of guys are looking for. Like, it makes so much sense. Like, I'd be more shocked if he doesn't end up with Carolina than if he does.
Yeah.
Number 4 on the list here.
Outside chance. Toronto Maple Leafs. You never know. Start up a new core 4.
Maybe. Next on the list, we got at number 4, we got John Tavares.
Islanders.
No way. No way.
Can you imagine?
No way.
That would be crazy.
I have Tavares sticking with Toronto. I heard that they're really far apart on contract talks, and it's all going south. But a lot of rumors, a lot of shit flies out around this time of year. He's made it very clear he wants to win there. He made the jump from the Islanders to go there. They're going to find a way to get a deal done, and it even could be something that it goes to like mid-July, because just like they're just trying to figure out their money and whatnot. It's like, we're going to get a good deal for you, and at the end of the day, I think he'll stick around with Toronto, because again, you're not, unless you make a big trade, you're not going to get a better second line center than what you have with Tavares right now. So they're trying to lowball him. It's not working. Eventually, Toronto's going to give in and give him a fair deal.
See, that's kind of what I think, but I think that would just be if they were talking with themselves. I think as soon as somebody comes in and offers a goofy amount more than what Toronto is, Tavares goes, "Oh shit, that's
potentially,
that'd be a lot I'd be leaving on the table for, at best, a second round exit so far." Like, I do think he wants to stay, but I also think Stamkos wanted to stay last offseason. Sometimes it just doesn't happen.
Yeah, that is true.
I am going to say Toronto, just because I don't have a specific other spot where I don't know what team would be frothing at the mouth to sign him like that. Mm-hmm. But I feel like there will be suitors. But definitely. I do think it's definitely most likely he goes back to Toronto.
Most likely. Yeah. That's kind of where I'm at with it.
Is it insane that one of the other top teams, again, I'm kind of thinking the Bruins?
Why would he go to Boston, though? It's not going to win there. Not in the next couple years, at least.
Big old dollar signs. Oh, fuck, he might win there, man. I don't know. I struggle to think about the Bruins just tanking for year in, year out.
Yeah. Number 5 on the list here, we got Aaron Ekblad. I'll keep this very short and simple. Florida. I think Florida finds a way to keep him. I know all signs are pointing to him leaving. I think Florida finds a way to keep him there. He clearly wants to be there and stick around there. they're going to find a way to get a deal done.
I would not be shocked at all if you were right. I definitely think that's a very strong possibility. That said, I am going to say for Aaron Ekblad, how many teams can I guess him for? How much cap space do they have? 37 million. I'm going Anaheim.
Anaheim?
I think they're collecting these old veteran players to surround their young core like freaking Infinity Stones, and they're just putting in their Trouba, their Kreider, their Ekblad, their Gudis, and their Vetrano and their Killorn, and okay, now go play with a bunch of 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And they actually got a coach now, so we'll see what kind of step they take. I think they could be in on him.
I could definitely see it. Yeah.
I would not be shocked if he did go back to Florida. I think he's the most likely of their three big free agents to leave.
Yeah. But I still think they find a way to keep him.
Strong
number 6, we got Vladislav Gavrikov.
How much do you think he's looking to make?
He's probably going to get like a 7x7, honestly.
Okay.
I know the door's not closed on LA, but I do think he leaves LA. I got him going to the New York Rangers.
I'm hearing a lot of stuff about that, and
I think he fits exactly what they need. I think they do pull the trade on a Keandre Miller deal, and you're going to need someone to kind of fill that void in your top 4, and you kind of need a guy that's a bit more defensively minded, and Gavrikov fits that bill perfectly for him.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Rangers as well. There's been a couple other rumors, but nothing like with him and the Rangers. It sounds very heavily rumored at this point, so I'm also going the Rangers. This is I believe the only one on the list here that I've heard a little bit linked to Tampa. Fuck if I know how they would pull that off, but
yeah, not sure.
I don't know. We've seen goofier things.
Yeah, we definitely have. Number 7, we got Ivan Provorov.
They're really expecting him to get paid more than some rather big names further down the list.
Yeah. I think his project also get like a 7x7-ish, around in that range.
Like, that's a lot of money for a Provorov, but man, I don't even know where to start with him. Where on earth would he go? I could picture him in a lot of jerseys.
I think Columbus finds a way to re-sign him. I think that it's worked out well there for both him and the team. They can afford to pay him nicely, and he does a great job in his role there. So you just keep it running. And again, Columbus is on the up and up, so he can be part of that wave that gets him back into the playoffs and makes some noise again. Pretty basic, but
I feel like he's just a guy that they would have re-signed already if they could get it done at a reasonable number.
And I think they will. I still think they will. Might come at the last minute, but they find a way to get it done.
You know what? They don't have a ton of defensemen signed at the moment. It's a little up in the air. I am going to go with the New York Islanders. I think the Islanders want to get better on D, and I mean, sure, you can draft for it, but how immediate of an impact is that going to have? I think the Islanders might take a swing on a Provorov. Pick him up.
Yeah, they'd have to make a lot of moves to make it work, but I could fit the bill for him. Number 8.
Something tells me their blue line's going to be stacked after this offseason.
Yeah, there could be a lot. Like, Islanders are so
right now.
There could be a lot of changes there.
Yeah.
Number 8 on our list here, we got the Conn Smythe winner, Sam Bennett. Again, I'll make mine short and simple. Florida. He's already come out and said it. He stated it. They're going to find a way to get a deal done.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. Moving on to number 9, we got Dmitry Orlov. Kind of surprised he's this high on the list after his playoffs, but hey, they got him at number 9 here.
Yep. And I definitely think I have an idea where he's going to go. I'm predicting he's going to be playing for CSKA Moscow. No, I'm kidding. I mean, after the playoffs, you could be forgiven for thinking that's a possibility, but uh Orlov, I don't know. The Preds don't really have the room. If I can find out what they're gonna do. I could see him going to like a St. Louis, maybe. Maybe they'll
St.
take a
Louis.
flyer on him. I have no
Um,
idea what his contract's gonna look like. Probably
yeah,
short
he's
term,
he's like the
but
most unpredictable guy on this list. I think I really don't know. I'm gonna throw out Boston. Um, I'll go back to Boston, and Boston needs some help on the blue line a little bit. So I
yeah,
just don't
I
think
could
too many
definitely see
teams
that.
are gonna be lining up for a guy like Orlov. So especially at this point now and what he's
Yeah.
projected to get. But I think Boston's kind of a little bit desperate to stay competitive, stay in the hunt, and they got to improve that blue line a little bit. So I'll go with the Bruins.
Yeah. Never a bad pick for a good defenseman to go there. Another good defenseman we got on the list here, number 10, we got Brent Burns. Burnsy. Where do you think he ends up? Because I imagine he's going to be a 1 or 2 year deal, probably one at this point. Probably
Yeah.
pretty cheap, and I imagine he's going to a big contender.
Um, I'll throw out as a dark horse because I've only got two teams. A dark horse is Dallas. If he goes to the market and is hearing offers out there, and Dallas opens up a spot by moving out Dumba Labushkin, I could see him going to Dallas. But I'm going to go with Carolina. I think he re-signs there on a 1 year deal. Stick around there, try and run it back with them there, and takes a little bit less money. They can build a bit of a better team, and he tries to go at it one more time with the Canes. So I'm going Carolina, but if it's not Carolina, I do think it's going to be Dallas.
It's interesting you said that because my answer was going to be I'm leaning Dallas, but he could go back to Carolina.
Yeah, I think
Um,
it's one of those two teams.
if he is signing for really cheap and just kind of looking for a cup, I could see him maybe going Tampa if we just need a depth defenseman. You know, he's still more than serviceable, but uh,
Yeah,
I'm leaning Dallas at the moment.
I think Dallas can make a lot of for a guy like Brent Burns.
Number 11, we got Claude Giroux. Claude Giroux. What kind of stats did he have last season? Like, I think he's starting to fall off, but like he's still
It wasn't
he's
as
still
great as the
producing pretty
previous
good.
years, but still, it was still decent. Um,
50 points in 81 games. 82,
Again,
82, 81 for games played. Still very healthy at his age.
it's kind of similar to you know, the the John Tavares stuff. It sounds like contract talks aren't going the greatest. I don't know where he goes if it's not Ottawa. Honestly, I can't think of a team be like there's a spot for him. He fits there. It makes sense. So I'm just gonna say Ottawa. He stays there at home and he finds a way to make a deal work. And now that they're finally making the playoffs and they're actually competitive and whatnot, I see him sticking around and trying to keep it going there. I don't know if he necessarily will, but it's the only team right now that kind of makes sense to me that I can make sense of right now. So I'll go basic, kind of like what I've been doing, but I think he sticks around with Ottawa.
I think there's a incredibly good chance of that. Wouldn't be shocked if that happened. Um, I will throw out there, I do think there is a chance of it. I don't know how good of a chance, but I think maybe he does run it back and he goes back to Philadelphia. I think there's a chance he goes to play with the Flyers again. You know, obviously he played there from 2007 all the way to 2022. So like he's got a long history of playing there. Um I could see it. They would need to make some good signings, I think. It's interesting because I don't know if he wants. Is he looking for money? Is he looking for ice time? Is he looking to win a cup? Like, I don't. He signed with Ottawa, right? Like that doesn't scream. I'm trying to win a cup as much as it, probably sucks to hear as a Sens fan. Like, and they could win. They definitely could. They made the playoffs this past year, but they're not. He's 37, an old guy. looking to win a cup in the twilight of his career. The Senators don't scream that, so I don't think he's cup chasing at the moment. So just because I think that could be fun, I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Flyers. But we will move on, and we'll talk about Brad Marchand. Oh, thank God, Brody's back. I don't have
Yeah,
to
I'm back.
talk to myself.
With
Oh, thank God.
Drew, he went to Ottawa to go home. That was the only reason.
He is from there. Okay.
But
I thought so.
Yeah, if he wants to win.
He's the guy who had his car stolen twice, right? He got his car stolen, then his rental.
Dude, yeah, not tough. The greatest hometown welcome for him. Yeah, but the thing is, right, if he wants to go to contender, I think lots of teams would be lining up. But again, it kind of sounds like he wants to get paid fairly still. And you're not going to be able to do that by going to a true number one contender at this point in time now for him.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard there, but I went with the Flyers. Okay, nice. Yeah. And I think Flyers fans would love that so much as well. Like going from what they were in the past few years to all of a sudden, you've got Michkov, you got Zegras, Giroux comes back, you've got a new head coach with a new outlook. You know, as much as Tortorella did get you some wins that you probably shouldn't have got at a lot of the times, I think
the team's kind of looking a bit on the up.
I was gonna say, like,
new head coach and Rick Tocchet, 3 first-round picks this year, 3 seconds.
Yeah,
like, you got lots.
People are pretty low on them, but looking at their lineup, like, it's not bad. They really need a goalie for sure, but like, their defense, it's not fantastic, but still, Travis Sanheim, you know, Ristolainen, Drysdale, Cam York has been very good. Like their top 6 is solid. Doesn't have any real standouts other than Michkov, who is 20 years old. But I think they're a sneaky team to get back in the playoffs. Maybe not this year, but next year I could see it. Yeah. Especially since the Metro is no idea what's going on in there. Teams are going up, teams are going down.
Next player on the list here, number 12, we got Brad Marchand. I'm going Florida. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I have a feeling Florida's going to find a way to keep back Brad Bennett and Marchand. It's probably going to come at the cost of an Evan Rodriguez and maybe another piece somewhere potentially. But I think they find a way to keep all 3. They're all happy there. They're winning. Their vibes are good. They all maybe just collectively agree, hey, maybe we should take just a little bit of a discount and we can all stay here and run it back for a couple more years. Again, don't know exactly how it's all going to work, but Florida's going to find a way to get it done, I think.
I'm going to say Florida as well. I think there's a couple of options. I don't think he's going to Toronto for the rumors out there. I get it. It's hilarious to think about, but no. I think San Jose could throw. No. I think Toronto, no. I think San Jose could launch money at him and he might do it. Like if they gave him goofy, 13 mil, like for a year or two, he'd probably take that. He's got 2 cups. I mean, fuck it. That's a lot of Blizzards, right?
That's true.
Other than that,
a lot of Blizzies.
Other than something like that, I only see either Boston or Florida. And frankly, both roads lead to Florida, in my opinion. I think if he goes back to Boston, I think there's a good chance he goes, okay, I'll take 5 or 6 mil for a year or two. And then they retain that half and they send him back to freaking Florida at the deadline. Like, I feel like even if he signs with Boston, he's going to chill there for a while and end up back in Florida. So, either Florida's way, my answer is Florida.
Much sense. 13th on the list, we got Jonathan Drouin. I mean, I want to say Colorado, but damn, they don't have the money to make it work. Like
I can't picture them in many other places.
Yeah. So I'm going to say Colorado. They're going to find a way. Or maybe he just takes a dirt cheap discount because it's probably the only place at this point, honestly, he's going to produce decently. He keeps playing with his buddy McKinnon, and I don't know where else he's a fit at this point now.
I think they have to re-sign him in
He's
Colorado.
Still a good player, but yeah, I just
that's the thing.
I just can't picture him anywhere else of where it's going to work. as well as it is in Colorado.
Yeah, he's just only a good player in Colorado, really. Like, he's tried many places. He barely staying in the lineup, and then he's been great with the Avs. So
And there's a path
I
to winning there for him still.
yeah. And on top of that, great deal for the Avs because you're the only team he seems to be able to perform for, which means
Yeah.
you'll take the money we offer you and kind of like it because you're not going to get it elsewhere. So, if they can shore up a little bit of cap space or even they've got 1.975, 1.8 for a year for 2 years. You might just take that. Is he getting much better elsewhere? Somebody will probably take a flyer on him, but I think he knows that after that contract's over, I don't know if there's going to be another one waiting for him unless that happens to be with the Avs.
Yeah,
like 37 points in 43 games. He was close to a point per game there.
Yeah.
And same with the year before. He was 56 and 79, a little bit less, but still almost hit 60 points. Before that, he didn't play a lot of games in many of the years, and they were all 29, 20, 23, 15. Like, not horrible numbers, but
yeah, serviceable. Yeah, works. 14th on the list.
Basically all assists as well, because 29 points, 2
that's
goals.
what he does.
23 points,
he's not a
2 goals.
Yeah, he's not a goal scorer. He's not a goal scorer. 14th on the list, Pius Suter. I have no idea.
Yeah, this is a wild card. He could go to 20 different teams, and I'd believe you. Not all at once, but like basically any team could sign him, and I'd be like, oh, okay, nice little middle six, probably third line ad.
Third line.
What jersey do you think he would look best with?
Look best. I actually got a team that I think makes sense, and there's going to be money there for him, and it fits a need. The Edmonton Oilers. I think Edmonton's desperately in need for a third line center. They're definitely gonna have some money, especially with Evander Kane being off the books. Jeff Skinner is gone. Victor Arvidsson's going to get traded, and so on. So I think he makes a lot of sense there. I think he fits that role. I still like an Adam Henrique, but I'm not comfortable with him as a long-term third line center. I think Pius Suter can be very effective for Edmonton. So I think he stays in Canada, and I think he just goes over one province over to the Edmonton Oilers.
I think that's a pretty good pick. Especially, we know the Oilers love old Canucks players. They've had so many over the past few years. That's a good pick. Has he said outright that he's not going back to Vancouver?
No. It just sounds like Vancouver's going to let him go because they just don't have the money.
I was going to say, they have so little cap space, but their roster is so unimpressive. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I really didn't have much in mind for him. I feel kind of inclined to agree about Edmonton. I could see him going to maybe like a Minnesota. They're kind of looking to,
especially if Ross is out the door,
kind of bolster up that middle six on their forward core. So something like that I could see.
And
but you know what?
They're like Carolina. They got a lot of money and they're ready to win. So I don't even hate the Minnesota either. And to wrap up the top 15 here, at number 15, we got Mikael Granlund. I've said it before. I'll just say San Jose. I don't think Dallas has the money to keep him. He doesn't want an absurd amount of money, but he wants to get paid fairly. And at this point in time now, Dallas just doesn't have the money for it. And San Jose can overpay him, bring him back where they kind of revived his career, and hey, come back to us, have fun, good vibes, and we'll keep it going as long as you want. Or if you end up wanting to chase a cup, we'll send you to a nice contender.
Yeah,
so I think he goes back to San Jose.
I think
if not, I think he resigns with Dallas.
I was going to say I would love to say Dallas, but you're so right. They have like no room. They just moved out. Who is it?
Marchment.
Was it Marchment's deal? And that currently puts them at just under $1 million in cap space, and they've got some guys to sign. So yeah, I don't think he can go there. So I think he goes back to San Jose. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he goes there with uh, a full no move. So obviously he's not going to the minors, which I don't think he's really at risk at, especially in San Jose. But
Yeah,
I think he gets the full no move just to so when he does get to the deadline, if he wants to go somewhere, he can choose his destination. Um, if they go that route, but yeah, I think San Jose is probably where he ends up if Dallas can't free up the room.
yeah, that's kind of my thought there. But that wraps up our free agency prediction. We'll come back to him and say, hey, maybe did we do good or did we do bad? That'll be next week on Tuesday after the first day of free agency, where we'll probably know at least with most of these guys kind of what it's looking like. Some of them maybe not, but we'll take it in stride and see what happens. We are at the tail end of the episode here. We have one final game to wrap it up before we get out of here and enjoy the craziness of this weekend. That's going to include the draft and then free agency early on next week. Braden, we are back with another Guess the Player.
Guess the player. All right.
For those at home who aren't familiar with the game, pretty simple. Braden gets to ask some questions, yes or no questions, and he tries to narrow down who the player is and as few questions as possible, and only gets one guess to officially guess who the player is. Pretty simple game. Nothing too crazy with it. I'll let you just kick it off here wherever you want to begin.
All right. So last time, I'm pretty sure it took me quite a while to get the team. It made it really difficult. I'm gonna try and maybe go about it a different way this time. See if I can shake up the system a little bit. So first, I'm gonna ask: is this player a forward?
They are indeed a forward.
They are a forward.
They are indeed a forward.
They're a forward
On an NHL team.
on an NHL team. All right, now I've got them. Got them right where I want them. To beat my record, I would have to guess them in 7, right?
Yeah.
That's so tough
Yeah.
to do, spending a bunch of guesses on teams. I think I'm just at that point where I gotta go for division. You can't waste your time with the conference. You gotta go for the division, and you gotta hope you get it right. Let's go for the Atlantic Division. Are they in the
It is
Atlantic?
not the Atlantic. It is not the Atlantic Division.
Are
It's a
they
good guess.
in the Metro Division?
They're on the Metro.
Okay.
They're on the
Okay.
Metro. So you narrowed it down to the division. You didn't really put yourself behind the 8 ball at all.
So they're in the Metro. The question is, there's 8 teams in the Metro. I can't waste that much time trying to guess which team. Because if it takes any more than really 2 or 3 guesses, that kind of makes it so I'm just like blindly guessing a forward on that team. Is there any way I can eliminate several teams? Like I can't just ask, is it this team? Is it this team? I gotta find a way to eliminate several teams. I'm looking and I see something. Does the team this player plays for, did they finish with 40 or more wins last season?
40 or more wins.
That would be the Capitals, Hurricanes, Devils, or Blue Jackets. All had 40 or more.
No, they did not finish
They
with
didn't.
40 or
So
more.
so they are on the Rangers, Islanders, Penguins, or Flyers. All right. So it's one of them. I got a 25% chance if I just guess one of those teams.
Yeah.
I'm at 4. I've done
4.
4 guesses, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty tough.
So you can
To beat my record, I need 2 more hints and then to guess the player.
and then guess the player. Yeah.
That's pretty tough to do.
When you
That's
know
tough
it's a
to do
four between 4 teams.
even if I guess the team, it's still tough, which means it's basically impossible if I don't guess the team. So I feel like I have to. So I'm going to go for it. I'm going to say, does this player play for the New York Islanders?
They do not play for the New York Islanders.
Brutal. Do they play for the
They do
Philadelphia
not.
Flyers?
They do play for the Philadelphia Flyers.
Oh, I was going to go for them first. I should have done it.
So you know it's a forward on the Flyers. You're at 6. So you can go for another hint to just try and figure out who the players and walk away with a win here. And end your streak of 3 straight L's on this game. Or
Taking L's like crazy.
are you going to send it and try and set a new record?
I mean, you kind of gotta go. You kind of gotta go for the guess, right?
Got to go for the dub. All you know is that it's a forward on the Flyers.
See, I don't know if I'm like overthinking it because like I assume you just like used AI or something to pick a player, right? And so
Yeah,
I'm
it's
wondering.
ChatGPT today for a player.
So I'm wondering if you say, "Hey, give me a random player," and AI was like, "Oh man, everyone right now online is talking about Trevor Zegras." So like, I'm wondering, like, is it something
Oh,
like
that's a
that,
good thought process. It's a decent thought
or
process. Okay.
does it literally
Yeah,
just pick
you
some
are right.
guy?
I did use AI for this one. I just said, give me a random NHL player.
So it could be him. I got another guy who's calling my name, so I'm just gonna lock it in on a completely random guess. I have nothing else to go on. Burundi, is it Tyson Forrester?
You just threw out Tyson Forster just like that.
Yeah.
To set the new record, Tyson Forrester was not the player.
Oh,
It was not.
don't tell me it was Zegras.
The player picked by
No.
ChatGPT from the Anaheim Ducks, it says Trevor Zegras.
Oh, it did. It was Zegras.
Trevor Zegras, Anaheim Ducks forward still, it says.
Brutal.
I thought you sniped it there. I thought you sniffed it out.
You know what? It's funny because I thought that's why it might have picked it, and then I actually talked myself out of it because I was like, I don't know if ChatGPT would be able to recognize yet that he's been traded because there's so much stuff online about him being on the Ducks. But I mean, obviously, if it just picks Zegras, you know he's on the Flyers. I know he's on the Flyers.
We all know he's on the Flyers. Now we know he's a Philly boy through and through.
Should have gone with my first pick.
You were
But you know
right
what?
there.
But you know what? I still maintained my cool guy points because I did mention the guy at least.
Yeah, you did throw him out there, most definitely. But
good game.
We're at the tail end of the episode here. That is wrapping up what we got here. Thank you all for tuning in. As always, if you want to join in on the hockey talk with us or talk about the upcoming draft or free agency, you can do so at the end of our socials. The link to all of our socials are in the description across all episodes, across all platforms. Braden, we are in for a very crazy, chaotic, hectic weekend by what all signs are pointing to. Gonna have a whole bunch to discuss about next week. But before we get into all that, before we ride off into the sunset for, again, an action-packed weekend, I must ask you, with the draft coming up, with free agency, final thoughts.
Final thoughts. I want to see a lot of... I just got jump scared by a bug on my keyboard. I want to see a lot of trades going on at the draft. I think we're going to get a lot more than we're used to. It's going to be really fun. Random prediction. I'm going to say the LA Kings brought in Will Ferrell to announce their pick. Their big fun celebrity. Will Ferrell's been in the front row of plenty of recent LA playoff games. There's a good
That'd be
chance he
pretty
like
wicked.
paints his face and then announces the pick.
Who does Calgary go with from our
Oh,
neck
if
of
it
the
was
woods?
God, if it was Chris Sutter, it'd be so sick.
Well, no, if
They'd
it's anyone
probably
else, I'm just going to be upset. I'm just
yeah.
going to be disappointed.
Well, so there's a very good chance they'll pick Lanny McDonald, which is it's never a bad time
Mm,
when Lanny shows up.
yeah, that is true. But
Just ask
that
John.
will do it for this episode. Once again, thank you all for tuning in. Hope you enjoy the weekend as much as we will. And as always, we will see all of you out on the ice next week.